My husband expected me to hand over my business to his brother as a wedding gift. It's for family, he said. I played along until the ceremony, then dropped my own bombshell. The scent of vanilla and warm butter filled my bakery as I pulled another batch of croissants from the oven. 6 years of early mornings, burnt fingers, and endless recipe testing had turned sweet success from a desperate dream into the most popular bakery in town. Now my husband wanted me to give it all away. I'm Samara, and until yesterday, I thought I had the perfect marriage. Honey, it's a family tradition, Calvin said, leaning against my steel workbench as I aggressively kneaded dough. When a Richards gets married, the whole family pitches in to help them start their new life. Your sister got a car for her wedding, I replied, flour dusting my arms. Your cousin got a down payment for a house. I'm being asked to hand over my entire business. Ivan has always wanted to run his own place. I slammed the dough down harder than necessary. Ivan has never worked a day in his life. He doesn't know the first thing about running a bakery. He's my brother, Samara. He's family. The bell above the door chimed and my best friend Serena walked in, her heels clicking against the tile floor. One look at my face and she knew something was wrong. What's going on? She asked, setting her purse on the counter. Calvin straightened his tie. Just discussing Ivan's wedding gift. I need to head to the office. He kissed my cheek but I turned away. Think about it, honey. Family first, right? The moment he left, I grabbed a mixing bowl and hurled it into the sink with a crash. Serena jumped. Okay, spill now. He wants me to give Ivan my bakery, I said, gripping the edge of the counter until my knuckles turned white. As a wedding gift? He what? Serena's jaw dropped. Please tell me you're joking. I wish. I grabbed a rag and wiped down the counter, trying to keep my hands busy. Apparently, it's a family tradition to help newlyweds start their lives. Never mind that I started this place from nothing. Never mind that I worked 2 jobs to save up for the equipment. Never mind that I nearly killed myself perfecting these recipes. What did you tell him? That I'd think about it. I tossed the rag aside and started boxing up a customer's order. What else could I say? He's been talking about nothing but Ivan's wedding for months. You could say, hell no, Serena suggested, snatching a chocolate chip cookie from the display case. This is your life's work, Sam. You can't just hand it over to someone who thinks baking is just throwing ingredients in a bowl and hoping for the best. The bell chimed again. Mrs. Peterson, one of my regulars, walked in with her granddaughter. I forced a smile and handed them their usual order, 1 dozen snickerdoodles and 2 blueberry muffins. Your cookies saved my bridge club meeting last week, Mrs. Peterson said, beaming. Everyone wanted your recipe. Family secret, I replied with a wink, watching them leave. The word family felt bitter on my tongue. Serena hopped onto the counter, ignoring my disapproving look. So what are you gonna do? I started preparing the display case for tomorrow's opening. I don't know. Calvin's right about one thing, family is important. But this place, it's not just a business. It's part of who I am. Then don't give it up. It's not that simple. I paused, a thought forming. Unless what? Serena leaned forward, recognizing my plotting face. Unless I agree to give it to him on my terms. I grabbed my phone and pulled up the business license documentation. Calvin wants me to help Ivan start his new life? Fine. But first, let's see if dear brother-in-law can handle the responsibility. Serena's eyes widened. What are you planning? I smiled, already drafting an email to my lawyer. I'm going to give Ivan exactly what he wants, and exactly what he deserves. Later that night, I told Calvin I'd do it. His face lit up like a child on Christmas morning as he hugged me tight. You won't regret this, honey. Ivan will make you proud. I hugged him back, thinking about the conditions I'd already started drafting with my lawyer. I'm sure he will, dear. I'm sure he will. As I lay in bed that night listening to Calvin's steady breathing, I thought about all the early mornings, the failed recipes, the burns and cuts and tears that went into building my dream. If Ivan wanted my bakery, he'd have to prove he deserved it, and something told me that process would reveal exactly what kind of man my brother-in-law really was. I smiled in the darkness. Sometimes the sweetest revenge comes with a side of karma. You're doing what? Olivia's voice echoed through her elegant home office. My former mentor set down her coffee cup with enough force to make the desk rattle. Samara, have you lost your mind? I shifted in the leather chair across from her, grateful I'd chosen to confide in her before moving forward. Olivia had been my guide since culinary school, and her business sense was sharper than my best bread knife. It's not as simple as just giving it away, I explained, pulling out the draft agreement I'd prepared. I have conditions. Conditions won't matter if you sign away your life's work to an incompetent fool. Olivia adjusted her reading glasses and scanned the document. Her expression softened slightly. Though this is interesting, I learned from the best. I managed a small smile. Remember when you told me never to sign anything without an escape clause? The doorbell rang, and Olivia's housekeeper announced that Ivan and Maggie had arrived for their scheduled appointment. I'd arranged this meeting under the pretense of discussing wedding cake designs, but my real purpose was far different. "Send them in," Olivia called out, giving me a knowing look. "Let's see what your brother-in-law is made of." Ivan strutted in like he owned the place, Maggie trailing behind him with an apologetic smile. She was sweet, if a bit naive, and I couldn't help wondering if she knew what she was getting into. Samara. Ivan's enthusiasm felt forced. "Calvin told me the good news. I can't wait to take sweet success to the next level." "That's actually why I wanted to meet," I said, gesturing for them to sit. "Since you'll be taking over, I thought we should discuss your vision for the bakery." "Oh, totally." Ivan loosened his tie. "I'm thinking we modernize everything. Get rid of all that homemade stuff and bring in pre-made bases. Way more efficient. You know, plus we can cut half the staff and save on labor costs." I watched Maggie's face fall slightly. Olivia's pen scratched against her notepad. "Pre-made bases?" I kept my voice neutral. "Our customers come for the authentic from-scratch recipes. Trust me, nobody can tell the difference." Ivan waved dismissively. "And we'll need to raise prices by at least 50%. This is prime real estate. We should be charging premium rates." "Ivan," Maggie interrupted, "I thought you said you loved Samara's traditional approach." "Babe, this is business." He patted her hand condescendingly. "Sometimes you have to make tough decisions to maximize profit." I pulled out another document. "Speaking of business decisions, I have the transfer agreement here. Just a few conditions before you take over." Ivan's eyes narrowed. "Conditions?" Calvin didn't mention conditions. "Nothing major," I assured him, sliding the paper across the desk. "You'll need to complete a 3-month training period learning every aspect of the business, pass a basic culinary certification, and maintain our current quality standards and staff for at least the 1 year. "That's ridiculous." Ivan stood up, his chair scraping against the hardwood floor. "I don't need training to run a bakery. It's just following recipes. Then the certification should be no problem." Olivia interjected smoothly. "Any competent business owner should understand their product. Don't you agree?" Ivan's face reddened. "This isn't what we agreed to?" Calvin said. "Calvin isn't the one giving away her business," I cut in, still entering my voice. "These are my terms, Ivan. Take them or leave them. Maggie, let's go." Ivan grabbed his jacket. "We'll discuss this with Calvin." After they left, Olivia turned to me with raised eyebrows. "Well, that was illuminating. Did you see Maggie's face when he talked about cutting corners?" I asked, gathering my papers. "I don't think she had any idea." More importantly, Olivia leaned forward. "Did you record all that like I suggested?" I patted my phone. "Every word, good girl." She smiled approvingly. "Now out that certification requirement, I have a friend who runs the testing center. Should we schedule it for next week?" "Make it Monday," I said, standing up. "The sooner Ivan shows his true colors, the better." As I drove home, my phone buzzed with a text from Maggie. "Can we meet tomorrow alone?" I smiled, thinking of her reaction to Ivan's revelations. Sometimes the best allies come from unexpected places. That evening, Calvin cornered me in the kitchen. "Ivan says you're being unreasonable with all these conditions." Unreasonable. I stirred the pasta sauce with more force than necessary, wanting the next owner to understand basic baking is unreasonable. "You know what I mean, Samara. This isn't what we discussed." I turned to face him, wooden spoon pointed like a weapon. "No. What we discussed was me giving away my business. These are my terms for doing so. Take them or leave them." Calvin's jaw clenched, but he said nothing more. As he walked away, I checked my phone again. Maggie had suggested meeting at a cafe across town, far from any prying eyes. Perfect. The pieces were falling into place, and soon everyone would see exactly what they were asking me to hand over my dream to. The cafe was quiet when Maggie walked in, her designer handbag clutched tight against her chest like armor. I'd chosen a corner table away from windows and curious ears. "Thanks for meeting me," she said, sliding into the seat across from me. Her engagement ring caught the light, a massive diamond that seemed to weigh down her delicate hand. Of course, I pushed a cappuccino toward her. "I ordered your usual." "You remember my coffee order?" "I remember everyone's orders. It's part of running a successful business." Maggie winced at the word business. She opened her purse and pulled out a folder. "I found these in Ivan's office last night. I wasn't snooping. I swear. I was looking for stamps," and she slid the folder across the table. Inside were bank statements, loan applications, and rejected credit cards. Red numbers jumped off every page. "He's in debt," Maggie whispered. "Serious debt. Gambling mostly. And there are letters from collection agencies. Does Calvin know?" She shook her head. "Ivan keeps telling everyone his investment business is booming, but these," she tapped the papers. "These tell a different story." The cafe door chimed. We both jumped, but it was just Serena arriving right on cue, exactly as planned. "Sorry I'm late," she announced, pulling up a chair. Traffic was horrible. "Oh, are those the financial records?" Maggie's eyes widened. "You knew about this meeting?" "Samara and I don't keep secrets," Serena said, examining the documents, especially not when someone's trying to steal her bakery. "It's not stealing if I'm giving it away," I corrected, but my voice was bitter. Though now we know why Ivan's so interested in a profitable business with good cash flow. "He's not a bad person," Maggie protested weakly. "He's just struggling." "Struggling people don't try to take advantage of their family," Serena countered. "They ask for help." I was about to respond when my phone buzzed. A text from Calvin. "Where are you?" "Ivan's at the bakery for his first training session." "Shit," I muttered. "I need to go." "Ivan's at the bakery." "I'll come with you," Maggie said, standing quickly. "I want to see how he handles this." The scene at the bakery was exactly what I'd expected. Ivan stood in my kitchen wearing an expensive suit instead of the required apron and hairnet, arguing with my head baker Maria. "These processes are inefficient," he was saying as we walked in. "We need to streamline everything, cut costs. These processes are what make our products special." Maria interrupted, her arms crossed. "Every loaf of bread, every pastry is taking too long to make." Ivan's voice rose. "Do you know how much money we're losing by making everything from scratch? About 60% less than we'd lose if our customers realized we'd switched to frozen dough," I said loudly. Ivan spun around, his face reddening when he saw Maggie beside me. "What are you doing here?" "Supporting my future sister-in-law," she replied coolly. "Shouldn't you be learning how to bake?" Maria held out an apron. "First lesson is bread basics. Everyone starts with bread." "This is ridiculous," Ivan sputtered. "I'm here to learn management, not play baker." "Management starts with understanding the product," I said, moving to the workbench. "You can't lead what you don't understand." "I understand plenty." Ivan yanked off his suit jacket. "I understand that this place could make triple the profit with half the effort if you weren't so stuck in your old-fashioned ways." Maggie flinched. I caught Maria's eye and nodded slightly. She pressed the record button on her phone, just visible in her apron pocket. "Why don't you explain your vision for the bakery?" I suggested innocently. "In detail." Ivan launched into his plans, each word digging his grave deeper, cutting staff, using cheaper ingredients, raising prices while lowering quality. Maggie's face grew paler with each revelation. "And the best part," he concluded triumphantly, "is that we can sell off most of this expensive equipment. We won't need it once we switch to commercial suppliers." "Interesting strategy," I said calmly. "Would you mind writing all that down for the transfer agreement? Why bother once the business is mine? Once the business is yours, you'll still be bound by the quality standards clause," I reminded him. "The one you agreed to yesterday?" Ivan's smug expression faltered. Behind him, Maria's phone kept recording. "We'll discuss this later," he snapped, grabbing his jacket. "Maggie, let's go." "Actually," Maggie said quietly, "I think I'll stay and learn about bread making. It seems important." I watched Ivan storm out, then turned to Maggie. "You okay?" She nodded, picking up the apron Ivan had rejected. "Teach me everything, please." As I showed Maggie how to knead dough, I caught Maria's eye again. She held up her phone and smiled. Another piece of evidence secured, another step closer to exposing the truth. Sometimes the best revenge is simply letting people reveal themselves. "You're getting married in 3 days, I said, watching Maggie pipe buttercream roses onto a practice cake. "Shouldn't you be at a spa or something?" We were alone in the bakery after hours, the streets outside dark and quiet. Over the past week, Maggie had thrown herself into learning everything about baking, staying late into the night. "I should be a lot of things," she replied, her hands steady as she created another perfect rose. Excited, happy, not wondering if I'm making the biggest mistake of my life. The timer dinged and I pulled a tray of cookies from the oven. Having doubts is normal before a wedding. Is it normal to find out your fiancé has gambling debts larger than your annual salary, or that he's planning to destroy someone else's dream to pay them off? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed with an email notification. I nearly dropped the hot tray when I read it. "What's wrong?" Maggie asked, setting down her piping bag. "Someone just tried to access my business accounts." I showed her the security alert from Ivan's IP address. "That's impossible. He's at his bachelor party." I pulled up the security camera feed on my laptop. Not anymore. The footage showed Ivan fumbling with the backdoor lock 10 minutes ago, finally getting it open with what looked like Calvin's spare key. He went straight to my office. "He's still in there," I whispered. "Call Serena. Tell her to bring the police." "Samara, wait." But I was already moving my phone, recording video as I crept down the dark hallway. The light from my office spilled into the corridor along with the sound of frustrated typing. Come on, Ivan muttered. "Where are the account passwords?" I flipped on the hallway light. Looking for something? Ivan jumped so hard he knocked over my desk lamp. Samara, I needed to check some numbers for the transfer. At midnight during your bachelor party, I kept recording as I stepped into the office using Calvin's key. Calvin knows I'm here. He lied smoothly. Ask him yourself. Okay. I pulled out my phone and dialed Calvin on speaker. Hey honey. Calvin answered. Club music pounding in the background. Everything okay? Is Ivan with you? Yeah. He's Calvin paused. Actually, I don't see him. Hey, has anyone seen Ivan? I ended the call staring at my brother-in-law. Wanna try again? You don't understand. Ivan's voice turned desperate. I need access to those accounts just for a few days. I'll put everything back before the transfer. Before you steal my business, you mean? I stepped closer. How much do you owe Ivan? 50,000? 100? 215,000? Maggie said from the doorway, making us both jump. Plus, interest. Ivan's face contorted. You went through my private papers like you're going through Samara's? Maggie's voice cracked. The wedding's off, Ivan. I called your brother. The police are on their way. You can't do this to me. Ivan lunged for the computer, but I was faster. I yanked the power cord from the wall as Serena appeared behind Maggie. The police are 2 minutes out, Serena announced, holding up her phone, and I've got the whole thing on video again. Ivan looked like a cornered animal. Calvin won't let you do this. We're family. Family doesn't steal from family, I said quietly, and Calvin can't stop me from pressing charges. Blue and red lights flashed through the windows. Ivan made a break for the back door but crashed into 2 officers coming in that way. Ivan Matthews? One officer asked, though it wasn't really a question. We've had reports of breaking and entering attempted theft. I watched them lead Ivan away in handcuffs, reading him his rights. Maggie stood frozen in the doorway, tears streaming down her face. I'm so sorry, she whispered. I had no idea he was this desperate. Serena hugged her tightly. You did the right thing. My phone buzzed again. Calvin calling back. I let it go to voicemail. He'd find out soon enough. After giving statements to the police, we locked up the bakery. The night air was cool on my face as I watched Serena drive Maggie home. Need a ride? Serena called out her window. I shook my head. I think I'll walk. Clear my head. As I walked home, I drafted an email to my lawyer attaching the night's videos. The transfer agreement was dead, but something told me the drama was far from over. My phone kept buzzing with messages from Calvin. Finally, I texted back. We need to talk, not tonight. The wedding was in 3 days. Everything was falling apart. And somehow watching it crumble felt like watching justice unfold one painful piece at a time. He made bail an hour ago, Olivia said, pouring more wine into my glass. We sat in her garden the evening before what should have been Ivan's wedding day. Your lawyer called to warn me. Of course he did. I took a long sip. Let me guess. Calvin posted it? Family first. Olivia mimicked Calvin's tone perfectly. Speaking of your husband, have you talked to him yet? He's been sleeping in the guest room. I twisted my wedding ring absently. Says I betrayed the family by calling the police on Ivan. And you letting Ivan steal your business wouldn't have been a betrayal? My phone lit up with another message. This time from Ivan. You'll regret this tomorrow. I promise? Olivia read the text over my shoulder and snorted. Is that supposed to be a threat? He's desperate. I showed her another message from Maggie. The loan sharks are circling. They've already visited his apartment twice. Not your problem anymore. No. I agreed. But tomorrow's wedding is half the town will be there expecting a celebration. Instead they're getting a scandal. Olivia leaned forward, her expression serious. Are you still planning to go? I have to. I'm catering, remember? I laughed bitterly. 500 cupcakes already paid for, plus the wedding cake Maggie and I made together. About that? Olivia's eyes sparkled mischievously. I may have an idea. Before she could elaborate, my phone rang. Calvin's face appeared on the screen. I should take this. I sighed, stepping into the house. Hello? Where are you? Calvin demanded. We need to talk about tomorrow. I'm at Olivia's. Ivan wants to make things right, he said, his voice pleading. He's agreed to get help for his gambling. He'll pay back anything he tried to take. Just drop the charges and we can all move past this. Move past this? My voice rose. He broke into my business, tried to steal my accounts, and threatened me. And you want me to just forget it happened? He's my brother, Samara, and I'm your wife. The words exploded out of me. But you were ready to let him destroy everything I've built. Did you know about his debts, about the loan sharks? Calvin's silence was answer enough. That's what I thought. I ended the call, my hands shaking. Olivia appeared in the doorway. You okay? No. I wiped angry tears from my eyes. But I will be. Tell me about this idea of yours. She smiled, pulling out her tablet. First, we need to call Maggie, then we're going to need access to the wedding venue tonight. 3 hours later, I stood in the empty reception hall with Maggie and Serena surveying our work. Are you sure about this? Maggie asked. adjusting a display card. It seems intense. More intense than finding out your fiancé is a gambling addict who tried to steal his sister-in-law's business, Serena countered. Point taken. My phone buzzed again. Another threat from Ivan, this one more explicit. Tomorrow's going to be a day everyone remembers. Hope you're ready for some public humiliation. He's planning something. I showed them the message, probably during the reception. Let him try, Serena said, gesturing to our preparations. We're ready. Maggie touched the wedding cake, her expression sad. I can't believe I almost married him. You deserve better, I said, hugging her. Someone who values more than just money. Speaking of money, Serena pulled up a news article on her phone. Look what just got published online. The headline read, Local business owner thwarts attempted corporate theft, family drama unfolds. How did they get this? I asked, scanning the article. Anonymous tip. Serena winked. The whole town will know by morning. Perfect timing, Olivia said from the doorway, making us jump. She held up a stack of documents. The judge just signed these. You're officially protected from any retaliation. I took the restraining order, feeling its weight in my hands. Think we're ready for tomorrow, honey? Olivia smiled wickedly. They won't know what hit them. Later that night, as I packed up the last of the cupcakes, my phone lit up one final time. A message from Calvin. Whatever you're planning tomorrow, please don't. For me. I typed back 3 words. For me first. Then I turned off my phone and headed home to get some sleep. Tomorrow would be a day everyone remembered. All right. Just not in the way Ivan was expecting. The church buzzed with whispers as I arranged the last cupcake display. Everyone had seen the news article by now, and the tension was thick enough to cut with my pastry knife. They're still going through with it, Serena reported. Hurrying over in her bridesmaid dress, Ivan convinced Maggie's parents that the article is all lies. Called it a misunderstanding between family members. Of course he did. I straightened a crooked cupcake. Where's Maggie? Locked in the bridal suite. Says she's getting ready, but Serena glanced around and lowered her voice. Everything's in place? I nodded, just waiting for the right moment. Samara. Calvin's voice made me stiffen. He stood behind me in his best man suit, looking uncomfortable. Can we talk? Now? Really? Please. He grabbed my arm, pulling me into a quiet corner. Whatever you're planning, don't. Ivan's already agreed to drop the whole business transfer idea. We can all just move on. Move on? I yanked my arm free. Like you moved on from telling me about his gambling debts. Or how about the loan sharks who visited our house yesterday looking for him? Calvin paled. How did you? Our security cameras work just fine. I smoothed my dress. Now if you'll excuse me, I have a wedding cake to finish setting up. Don't do this. He called after me. Some things are more important than business. You're right. I turned back, like trust, respect, honesty, all the things you and Ivan seem to have forgotten. The church doors burst open. Ivan stormed in his tuxedo, rumpled his eyes wild. Where is she? The bride's not supposed to see the groom before the ceremony. Someone called out. Not Maggie. Ivan snarled, pointing at me. Her, we need to talk now. Actually, Olivia's voice rang out as she entered through the side door. The only people Mrs. Richards needs to talk to are the police officers who just arrived to discuss your violation of the restraining order. 2 uniformed officers appeared behind her. Ivan's face contorted. You think you're so clever, he spat. But I know things. Things about your precious bakery that would destroy its reputation. Like what? I asked calmly. The health code violations you tried to plant yesterday, already cleared up with the inspector. Or maybe the fake reviews you paid for removed this morning. Ivan lunged forward, but Calvin grabbed him. Brother, stop. You're making things worse. Let him go, I said quietly. Let everyone see exactly who they're here to celebrate. The officers moved closer. Ivan shrugged off Calvin's grip and straightened his jacket. Fine. He smiled nastily, but I still have one card to play. Maggie. The bridal suite door opened. Maggie stepped out in her wedding dress, but instead of walking toward Ivan, she moved to stand beside me. Sorry, Ivan, she said, her voice steady, but I'm not your card to play anymore. What's going on? Calvin looked between us, confused. Show them. Maggie nodded to Serena, who pulled out her phone and connected it to the church's projection system. The screen lit up with security footage. Ivan breaking into my bakery, his confession about using the business to pay off debts, his threats. Then came the loan shark footage showing Ivan and Calvin discussing how to pressure me into the transfer. The church erupted in gasps and murmurs. Ivan's parents stood up, their faces ashen. Turn it off, Ivan demanded. This is my wedding day. No, Maggie said firmly. This was supposed to be our wedding day, but you turned it into a con game just like everything else in your life. She pulled off her engagement ring and set it on a nearby pew. You can't do this to me. Ivan's voice cracked. I'll be ruined. You did this to yourself, I replied. The moment you decided my dream was worth less than your debts. The officer stepped forward again. Mr. Matthews, we need you to come with us. Violating a restraining order is a serious offense. As they led Ivan away, Calvin grabbed my hand. Samara, I'm so sorry. I didn't know how bad it was. I just wanted to help my brother. I pulled my hand free. We'll talk about this later. Right now there are 500 people here expecting a celebration, but there's no wedding. He said no. Maggie smiled, linking her arm through mine. But there is a party, a celebration of truth, justice, and really good cake. The tension in the church broke as people laughed. Music started playing, not wedding music but something upbeat and liberating. As I watched Maggie hand out cupcakes to disappointed wedding guests, I caught Olivia's approving nod from across the room. Sometimes the sweetest victory isn't in getting even, but in standing up for what's right. And speaking of sweet, I had a wedding cake to serve. The reception hall hummed with conversation as I stood behind the cake table, watching the aftermath of our revelation unfold. What should have been a wedding reception had transformed into something entirely different, part scandal, part celebration of truth. Another piece, please. Maggie's mother approached, still in her mother of the bride outfit. I can't believe I'm saying this, but this is the best non-wedding I've ever attended. Try the raspberry layer. I suggested, cutting her a generous slice. Maggie made it herself. She did? Her mother's eyes welled up. I had no idea she was learning to bake. She's learned a lot these past few weeks. I glanced over at Maggie, who was laughing with Serena by the punch bowl. Her wedding dress replaced with a sleek blue cocktail number, about baking, about herself, about choosing better men, her mother added dryly. A commotion at the entrance drew everyone's attention. Calvin burst in, his face flushed. Ivan's being processed downtown, he announced, making his way to me. They're charging him with violation of the restraining order, attempted theft, and corporate espionage. Corporate espionage? Someone asked. The health inspector confirmed it. Olivia stepped forward, tablet in hand. Ivan bribed him to plant violations at Sweet Success. Unfortunately for them both, I recorded their entire conversation. Calvin's face crumpled. I swear I didn't know about that part. But you knew about the rest, I said quietly. The gambling debts, the loan sharks, the plan to use my bakery to bail him out. I was trying to protect my family. I am your family. The words exploded out of me, silencing the room. Or did you forget that when you decided my dreams were worth sacrificing for your brother's mistakes? Ladies and gentlemen, Serena's voice cut through the tension. The video presentation is about to begin. The lights dimmed and the projector flickered to life. On screen, security footage showed Ivan's late-night break-in attempt, followed by clips of him bragging about his plans for my bakery. Then came the footage that made Calvin stumble backward, him and Ivan planning how to pressure me into the transfer. That's enough, Calvin pleaded. Turn it off. No. I stepped out from behind the cake table. Everyone needs to see exactly what family first really meant to you both. The final clip played. Ivan threatening me in the bakery. His face contorted with rage as he detailed how he'd destroy everything I'd built. When the lights came up, Calvin looked destroyed. Samara, please save it. I held up my hand. You had choices, Calvin. At every step you could have chosen differently. You could have told me the truth. You could have helped Ivan get real help. Instead, you chose to betray my trust. What are you saying? I pulled out an envelope. I'm saying I've had these divorce papers ready since the night Ivan broke in. I was waiting to see if you'd finally choose me. The room collectively gasped. Calvin staggered like I'd physically struck him. You don't mean that? He whispered. We can work this out. Can we? I gestured around the room. Look at what your choices have already cost. Your brother's freedom, Maggie's happiness, my trust, our marriage. I'll make it right, he promised desperately. Whatever it takes. It's too late. I placed the envelope on the cake table. You can't fix betrayal with promises, Calvin. Some things, once broken, can't be put back together. Olivia stepped forward, placing a supportive hand on my shoulder. I think it's time for the final announcement. I nodded, turning to address the room. Sweet Success isn't just my business, it's my life's work. And as of this morning, it's officially protected by a corporate trust. It can never be transferred without unanimous approval from a board of directors. Who's on the board? Calvin asked weakly. Olivia, Serena, Maggie. I smiled at each of them in turn. Women who understand the value of dreams and the importance of protecting them. The room erupted in applause. Maggie's mother hugged me, tears streaming down her face. You saved my daughter from making a terrible mistake. Actually, I hugged her back. She saved herself. We all did. Calvin picked up the divorce papers, his hands shaking. What happens now? Now. I looked around at the room full of people who had come expecting a wedding, and instead witnessed a revolution. Now we celebrate because sometimes the best endings aren't the ones we planned for, but the ones we fight for. I picked up the cake knife and began cutting slices for everyone. Each piece represented something different now, not a celebration of marriage, but a toast to truth, courage, and the sweet taste of justice served just right. The morning sun streamed through Sweet Success's windows. As I unlocked the door, breathing in the familiar scent of vanilla impossibility, the bell chimed behind me as Maggie entered, already wearing her apron. "Ready for your first official day as partner?" I asked, handing her the spare set of keys I'd had made. "Partner?" She repeated the word like a prayer. "Still can't believe this is real." "Believe it." I pulled out the signed partnership agreement. "You earned this, not just with the amazing recipes you've created, but with your integrity." The door chimed again. Serena and Olivia walked in carrying champagne and orange juice. "You can't start a new chapter without mimosas," Serena declared, setting up glasses on the counter and paperwork. Olivia added, producing a folder. "The judge signed off on everything this morning. Ivan's plea deal requires full restitution of his gambling debts and mandatory counseling. And Calvin," Maggie asked carefully, "signed the divorce papers yesterday." I touched my bare ring finger. "He's moving to his parents' beach house. Said he needs time to reflect on his choices." "Speaking of choices," Serena grinned. "Wait until you see today's paper." She unfolded the local newspaper, revealing a full-page feature about Sweet Success. The headline read, "Rising from the Ashes. How one woman's stand against family pressure created a community legacy." "They interviewed your customers," Olivia pointed out. "Look what Mrs. Peterson said." I read aloud. "Sweet Success isn't just a bakery. It's proof that standing up for yourself can be the greatest act of love, both for yourself and for others who need to see it done." The bell chimed again. Maria arrived with the rest of the morning crew, all wearing new aprons emblazoned with our updated logo, "Sweet Success, where dreams rise." "The first batch of orders just came in," Maria announced, waving her tablet, including one from the mayor's office. "They want us to cater the city's Small Business Award ceremony." "The one where you're receiving the Woman Entrepreneur of the Year award?" Serena added casually. I nearly dropped my mimosa. "What? Surprise?" Maggie squealed. "We nominated you weeks ago. The committee was especially impressed by how you handled the recent family situation with grace and professionalism, while still serving the best pastries in town," Maria added. The morning sun caught the crystal glasses as we toasted, creating tiny rainbows across the counter. Outside, customers were already lining up, pressing their faces against the windows to peek at today's offerings. "Before we open," I said, pulling out a small box, "I have something for you, Maggie." She opened it to find a delicate gold necklace with a tiny whisk charm. "It's beautiful. Read the engraving." Maggie turned over the charm, tears welling up as she read. "Sometimes the sweetest success is saying no to the wrong thing, and yes to the right ones," she finished, hugging me tight. The door chimed one final time. Calvin stood there holding a stack of mail. "These came to the house," he said quietly. "Thought you might need them." I took the letters, noting his red eyes and rumpled clothes. "Thank you. I'm heading out of town today. Just wanted to say." He glanced around at my support system, my chosen family. "You've built something amazing here. I'm sorry I ever made you doubt its worth." "Sometimes," I replied, thinking of Mrs. Peterson's quote, "we need to lose something to understand its true value." He nodded, understanding the gentle dismissal. As the door closed behind him, Maggie squeezed my hand. "Ready to open?" I looked around at my bakery, at the display cases Maggie and I had filled together, at the wall of customer photos Maria had arranged, at the women who had stood by me when everything threatened to crumble. "Actually," I smiled, "I think we need one more toast." Serena refilled our glasses as I raised mine to sweet success, not just in business, but in choosing ourselves, in standing our ground, in recognizing that sometimes the family we choose is stronger than the family we're born into. "To fresh starts," Maggie added. "To unbreakable bonds," Serena chimed in. "To women supporting women," Olivia finished. The glasses clinked as the morning sun bathed us in golden light. Outside, the line of customers grew longer, but for this moment, time stood still. I unlocked the door, flipped the sign to open, and breathed in the scent of possibility. Today wasn't just another day at the bakery. It was the first day of everything we'd fought to protect, everything we dared to dream, and it smelled like success.